episode 5. Sully, this one is meant to be a cracker, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Look, two of the best players who've ever played the game, David, no question about it, not just in Tipperary, but in the country. I know them both quite well. They love talking about the game as well, so I think if we want to know where we can just sit back and let them off.
Again, we'll go straight into it. We'll get them into the chat.
Absolutely. Let's get them in. Okay, welcome to the 5th episode of the Women's Hurling podcast. We're delighted to have Cáit Devane and Máel Ryan with us. I'm going to embarrass the life out, saying two of the greatest players that ever played the game. But absolutely delighted to have you. You're very welcome, guys. I hope you're keeping well.
Cheers. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Not a bother. We're recording this a week in advance, so the draw for the Hurling Championship was made last night, so that's why I have the all green and white on for you there, Davey. Hope you appreciate it.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting draw. Quarter-final as well. It's a tough one. So again, Limerick will be well favourites for that.
Stop. Yeah, stop. Save it till October, lad. Save it till October.
Yeah, it's a bit early for mind games like that, but
yeah, never too early. But I know it's interesting. It's going to be a great hurling championship. It'd be interesting to see what they do with like venues and stuff like that. They try and play it centrally, like say Cork and Croke Park for pitches and stuff. But yeah, there's no championship buzz in the air. Maybe not so much with the Camogie this week, but.
Exactly. Like, so again, we're recording a week in advance, but you were kind of vocal enough on Twitter there during the week. You weren't holding back really. You were just complaining that basically the senior inter-county championship should have been on this summer, and the reason being there's nothing to compete with it. There could have been televised games, and a real showpiece of what really the women's hurling camogie is all about. Just as a player, Cáit, do you want to answer first? What would your opinion on this be? Would you be happy to play a senior inter-county championship in the summertime, have no men's hurling there to compete with, and the publicity should be a lot better on it?
Yeah, I suppose it's an interesting one, and I read the same article that you're after talking about there. I can definitely see the pros and the opportunity that was there, I suppose, from the Camogie Association to get all the publicity, have airtime. There definitely was maybe a gap in the market, if you want to say there, to maybe put the championship ahead of the national championship ahead of the club. But like, it's funny, like from a player point of view, I'm just really looking forward to getting back playing. And I know that sounds like maybe a bit of a stupid answer if you're not going to think of the bigger picture, but like we were training ourselves there during lockdown, and you're just training to have an end goal of actually just getting back in the field, and you just kind of miss the camaraderie of it. Like, I've massive respect for athletes, individual sports. Like it's crazy. You're going out maybe doing a hurling session or a gym session completely on your own, a running session, and like to keep that motivation up is phenomenal. So from my point of view, I'm just really excited to get back playing. And I suppose in going back the last couple of years, we haven't had great exposure to the club. Like it has nearly been our club's Achilles heel. Last couple of years we've had 4 or 5 girls involved in the county team, and you take 4 or 5 girls away from training in any club, and it's a massive hole. So I think this year it's actually lovely to get back and be able to fully commit to club training and kind of give that a rattle, and kind of the enjoyment of it. And like that, like there's just a massive buzz. We're back training there the last week collectively, and like you're leaving the field with a massive smile on your face, and you just miss it. So from that point of view, I actually don't really mind the club going first. I know you can say there's publicity, but like what irks me is we shouldn't have to change our schedule to get publicity, and that's what I'm like. Look, I know ultimately there was an opportunity to do that, and that is what's facing us. We do play second fiddle to the men's game, unfortunately, but it would be lovely that if we didn't have to change our schedule around and have that as a kind of a balancing act all the time, and try to put our game forward.
It's a very valid point. It's great. Like it really is. The club gets left behind, doesn't it, to a certain extent, especially if you take 4 or 5 players out of it. My thinking behind it is, like, the Camogie Association will never again be able to say, oh, look, we're not getting the exposure we deserve, we're not getting the exposure we deserve. They've had the opportunity and they didn't take it. I was just did a few stats on it. So in 2018, Davey, I reckon you played on the TV 7 times in the championship in 2018.
Yeah.
And I think, and these aren't exact no stats, but I reckon you've played on the television 4 times in your career, Cáit. And Mal, I'd say maybe 5. Just trying to flicker back through games and trying to do a bit of research on it. Like, Clare haven't played on the television since 2014. So there's people out there who have never seen Chloe Morey playing. Offaly haven't played, they're Offaly or senior. Offaly haven't played on television since 2011. So like Michaela Mork and Siobhan Flannery, there's people out there who don't even know who they are. I've never seen them on telly. Limerick played once since 2014 on television. So Niamh Mulcahy got an all-star last year, and the game she played in the quarter-final was the first time that people would have seen her on television in 6 years. Yeah, so it's just, when you put it like that, it's scandalous. You're right. The point you make is right, Cáit. You shouldn't have to. It shouldn't be a case of, there's nothing on, we get exposure. You're dead right. I agree with you 100%. But like, the minors being cancelled now, so you know yourself, you're a secondary school teacher, 16, 17, probably maybe sooner than minors, probably the real drop-off point in Camogie. But if girls now who've probably, in most of these counties, they've never seen their county on TV, they've had their minor championship whipped out from underneath them, why would they bother? Why would you bother, like?
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think the minor call is scandalous. Like, you're talking about drop off rate and trying to keep girls interested in sport, full stop, you know. And like, obviously, GA, Camogie are massive sports, like in Ireland at the moment, and I just think they're shooting themselves in the foot really by pulling that. There's no need to, and it's negative publicity on themselves again, unfortunately. I just think something has to be done to try and make it go ahead, like, you know.
Mm-hmm. You were just about to jump in there, Mal. Sorry, we cut across you.
No, I mean, look, you've touched on a lot. Like, Cáit has kind of touched on a lot of it there, on what, you know, the chance you have to go back and play with your club, and absolutely from a PR point of view, and from, you know, the promotion of women in sport, and that, it's absolutely agree with, say, what was, you know, put out during the week. But to talk about when do those girls see, you know, the county players in the same respect? I'm from quite a small club, like, when do the younger girls in your club get to see you come in to train, say? So it's nice to be able to go back now and have a block of where you're completely committed to your club and not being, you know, making decisions on where you're going or that kind of thing. So it's nice, I think, from the club player point of view and the county player, that you know that we have a block there together now.
Definitely. Yeah. Like, when I coached you that year, Dave, like, we never saw you, like, you know, and that's not anything against you. I mean, like, it's just it would be pointed. And by see, I don't mean physically see. I mean, like, you never talked out with us. Like, you were always there and knocking around and whatever. But like,
it's always people always say, oh, we know you're training away. You know, the club players, like, or the county player, we know you're training away, and don't worry, and you'll be back in. But you know yourself, like, I'm sure David knows himself as well. Like,
we'd 40 of training the other night above an Offaly, all the county players, everything. Just, I'd say fellas hadn't picked up a hurley in donkey's years, just wanted to get out of the house and down. So, like, definitely, I think the club going first in hurling is unbelievable. I think it's just class. Like, it's just, as you said there, it gives clubs the opportunity to prepare and train, and young lads going up to the field, and the county fellas are there, and it's massive. But they don't have to fight for the exposure, and I think for the growth of the game in general, I think it's just, there's an opportunity missed. But look,
I think I'd agree as well. And I know from a player's point of view, it's lovely to go back to the club, as you were saying, and again, valid points. But the stats there that you had there, Sully, was like, that's just startling. Like, it's hard to believe. It's like, Camogie is our national game as well, and it shouldn't be like that. And I suppose that's kind of what we're trying to do as well with women's hurling, is trying to just promote it for the sport it is, and the skills. But again, as a player point of view, you're going back to your club, yes, but just to get that extra exposure, I think as well that county should have come first. And then go back to your club in end of September, or go back to the club. Then we say what we always did, and go from there, and just switch them around just for the exposure. But I was laughing at the stats there, so you kind of came up there and you said, "Oh, I was doing research during the week, and I have these stats." But they might be 100% true.
But it's hard to know, like, you know yourself, you Google stuff in Camogie, now the whole file comes up, so you're kind of having to try and piece it together yourself. I was thinking, well, actually, it's not that hard because you can probably count the games that have been on the telly on one hand. To be fair,
exactly.
Yeah, you know, it'd be a different story. But look, we have asked Declan McBennett is going to come on and do the podcast with us next week. So he's the head of sport in RTE. So look, we'll just ask him straight out: was there any interest on their part to actually show it or not? And we have asked the Camogie Association on as well, so they won't be on next week. Definitely. They ignored the email completely. But look, we'll drive on. We're not here to give out, I suppose. We're trying to add a bit of positivity. So we talk about yourselves. That's why we're here. So Mal, we'll start with you. And I suppose we're looking at maybe influences you would have had growing up. So I don't know if many people know it, but you're from GA royalty. Your grandfather, Seamus, was president of the GA and left an unbelievable legacy after him. I didn't actually realise. I knew I was fully aware of who he was, but he was the man who started scoring an Og. The man who started failing the Gael when he was the chairman of the Tip County Board, built a handball alley in Croke Park, has a championship named after him in Tipperary. So I suppose you didn't lick it off the ground, did you?
He's a fair legacy left, all right now, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Sure, that was the influence I had growing up. Like, with, I suppose, my dad and his four brothers all hurled, and the influence that my granddad had on the club, the county, the GA as a whole, it had us all involved. I mean, you were, I suppose, the same as a lot of us, thrown a hurley as soon as you could walk. But yeah, I'll always have the debate and the slag with the boys at home, or like reminding me of where I learned to hurl out in the backyard with them. So, but yeah, it's nice. It's always nice to look back at that. I know when failure rolls around every year, Dad and them always make it a kind of an annual thing to travel, and it's nice to know that thing was set up. Same with the score, even going back as far as the international rules. He had a huge influence on the GAA. So yeah, it's been nice. There's always chat around the house and that. And it was only recently we were chatting about the Ashburn, and I was talking to Dad about his Fitzgibbons and this kind of thing, and the slagging that goes on back from 70s their time to our time. Like it's always good around the house.
Yeah, and we got caught up in his legacy one day. We were invited up to Moneygall to play a challenge match, junior challenge, Saturday evening. Barely scraped together 15, or like, look at challenge match on Saturday evening, grand. Rocked up, place was absolutely wedged with cars. We're like, there must be something on here, whatever it was. And up we went anyway, and this big ceremony, they were unveiling, they were naming the stand after Seamus.
Oh, yeah.
The whole fucking parish was out, right? They baked the shite out of us above in front of the fucking crowd. There was about 300 or 400 people at it. They were like dogs going home. Manager never told us or anything. We got absolutely hammered, so we got caught on the wrong end of it. But yeah, we invited him down a few weeks later and loaded him with all the senior players and gave him a hiding back. So
you always have tricks up your sleeve there in Limerick, don't you?
That's it, yeah. We got caught rotten. I'll come up for a challenge match, yeah. The whole parish out watching them, so not about it.
Because just going on about, we say, your influence growing up, or who was your influence growing up? Because I know your brother John, like, he was making a big name for himself in UL with the Fitzgibbon team and with the Tip seniors as well. But was he a big influence when you were growing up?
Yeah, definitely. Similar to Mary there, I suppose. Like, grew up in small parish like Rossmore, but hurling is all we kind of know, you know. So like that, you'd be thrown out the back, hurling with the lads, and they'd be kind of teaching you probably the hard way. I learned the hard way out the back with them. The different skills of the game. But yeah, look, all my family, to be fair, John had a fantastic career, like you mentioned there, with Joel in the fifth and under 21. I remember the trilogy with Limerick, and travelling around the country supporting him, you know, and then obviously with Tip seniors as well. Like, you know, you're growing up and he's in the same house with you, and he's your hero, really, you know. So that was kind of nice. But and I learned an awful lot from him, and like I still go to him for advice on different things. And like, look, as I said, my whole family, really, my parents as well. I've 3 brothers and 1 sister, and we're all steeped in it, you know. So they're they're a great support, I suppose, to me as well. Like they travel around the country supporting me, and they're great to hop an idea off of, get a bit of advice. And you know, when you don't have a great day on the field, they're a nice group to kind of surround yourself with too, you know. So I must say, like they've been a massive support to me, you know. And look, if we have had shared great days and we've shared bad days, like, but they've been very good to me.
Yeah, the following, I remember 2005, that Fitzgibbon final, held Owen Kelly scoreless inside the Gaelic Crowns. Now, unfortunately, LIT had a team that included Fergus Flynn from Mayor David, I don't think ever spent a day in college. And they had a full forward line of Niall Healy, Kieran Murphy and Owen Kelly, which was fairly serious. If I'm not mistaken, I think he ran into Babs as well, John, didn't he? Like, Babs used to play him up in the forwards. We all thought like he's the best full back in the country. But then I suppose the following year, Babs dropped Owen Kelly and Brendan Cummins for a game, so you couldn't feel too down about it, I suppose, if he was playing you out of position, really. You know, maybe, yeah, Brendan Cummins was fairly vocal about that there on Biffo's podcast there lately as well. So, yeah, I'm sure John got to experience that as well. But Mal, you made your debut, which is almost shocking, back in 2005 for Tip, I think, if the research is right, could be wrong. And you played in the final in 2006. So like you're coming off a period where Tip were getting to finals, winning championships, and you'd experienced a few of them in your early days. Did you think that this was just going to be what it was always going to be for you? You were kind of, this is what you were bred into, I suppose, getting to finals and winning championships and things like that.
Yeah, I came in, I suppose, on the end of, you know, the 5 All-Irelands that Tip had. So, yeah, I think, I mean, when I was kind of minor 16, we didn't have a huge amount of success or anything, but the seniors were starting to come up along. And I suppose from 99 to 2004, they won the 5 All-Irelands, and us as minors or underage players at the time, even though we were probably struggling to get medals or silverware ourselves, but we were looking ahead to the girls and what they were winning, and to come in 2005 was, I suppose, like it was massive. It was great to come in. You're kind of coming in amongst girls who, I mean, the girls were probably very young at the time themselves, winning All Irelands, but to us they were the older ones and the superstars, and you just looked up to them. It was class to come in. It was class to be part of it in 2005 and 6 to make the finals. You probably would, I suppose, expect then that that's the way it's going to go, and it kind of I think 2007-8 then we lost the semi-finals 2 years in a row, and then it was a good number of years before we got back to semi-finals again. But yeah, unfortunately, that's the way it's gone. We're building up again, but try to get back there.
Same question to you, Cáit. When you were growing up, looking at the Tip success, aspiring to win All Irelands, that must have been a real aspiration for you.
Massively, yeah. Like I suppose, similar to Mal, like I would have been up supporting Tipperary and Croke Park there in the early 90s, you know, and it was just fantastic. I remember the vivid memories of the Javita Delaney and O'Dwyer bringing the cup back, the homecomings and that. And I just kind of remember, like, we would have taken buses up from Kenora 4 here, and I just remember just kind of like that, just being completely in awe of these players, you know, and like I kind of want a bit of a taste of that, you know, and that I suppose kind of gave you I suppose a bit of ambition, and you could see possibly maybe one day that you could emulate some of that, you know. There was a local girl as well, Cora Hennessy, was on the team at the time, and like I remember my first year on the panel in 2009, like I was so lucky, like again, like Mal, you're walking in and like you're looking around, you're seeing Claire Grogan, and you know, you're seeing all these massive names, and you're just completely in awe of them, and then all of a sudden Claire is ringing you to say, do you need a lift to training, like, you know, and Cora's bringing to training, and then you're kind of like, geez, you know what, this is kind of cool. These girls are just so dead on, you know, and like that, I suppose your ambition kind of grows. Then when you get in, you kind of want to impress and learn as much as you can. You know, I think them first few years, I'm sure they were the same for yourself, Mal, like you're learning off like Emer McDonald, probably one of the best great sports ever played a game. Like, you learn so much off of her. She was so willing to give you different nuggets of what was going on around, and you're just trying to soak up as much as you can in them first few years. And I suppose, yes, you are trying to win, but like I remember in 2009, we got to league final against Wexford, I think, Mary, wasn't it, in Parnell Park?
Yeah, Parnell Park, yeah.
Lost to Wexford up in Parnell Park, and I actually remember coming away from that and thinking, God, we lost the same day, but I just remember coming away and saying, you know what, like, we're mixing it with the best here, like, this is class. And for some strange reason, I don't know, was I even too disappointed to lose? I think I was even just enjoying playing and enjoying being there and soaking up everything. And looking back now, I just remember actually just loving that day, even though we lost, which is strange now, because like if you lose a final, you'd imagine you'd be gutted. You know what I mean? But like what Mary was saying there, I suppose there's a bit of naivety, thinking our time will come. You know, that kind of way, like we're building or whatever. But like that 2010, then I think we had the Munster final in Tipperary. We got one up on Clare. And like that again, we were looking to mix it with top table and try to get a bit silverware, and we're still trying to get up that ladder ever since.
I suppose you ran in at that stage, like we had JJ Doyle on here on the first one, and like, you know, he made the point that his Wexford team wasn't just full of the best players Wexford have ever had, it was absolutely packed with the best players that the country's ever seen. You know, just some of the all-time greats. So I'm surprised by you there, Cáit, say you were happy enough to lose a final, considering I remember about 2 weeks into my time in UL, I was thinking, should we have emptied the bench a bit more against UCC? And you told me to cop myself on. There's no harm giving them a hiding. So you obviously changed.
I've learned a bit on the way.
You've changed your tune in the 10 or 11 years in between. I was there. He was like, "Geez, who's that down in the corner there?" I don't know who she's called. Yeah, I was kind of surprised by it. I suppose looking back at the results, because when we were coming up in Limerick, we would always have seen Tipperary as up there, as being on the pedestal. And just let's go back through the results. Like, you had some tough times from around 2012, maybe up to last year even. Just taking beatings from teams you wouldn't expect, from like Clare in 2012. But 2014, lost to Derry, lost to Offaly. And, you know, and have taken kind of some clippings, I suppose. Like, would that have been a shock, Cáit? I suppose, seeing as you'd grown up looking at all this success and now you're part of it, and it's maybe not going what way you thought it would. Was that is that something you kind of had to come to grips with, and or what were you thinking at the time?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, all them losses that you were saying there were like, you're coming back in after a year maybe of a couple of losses, and it's soul searching. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's bleak and it's tough. You're looking around the dressing room. I think we had a lot of turnover of players too around that time, and you know, you're trying to build a bit of momentum, trying to build a bit of a culture, a bit of an ethos around, and you're going in every year with effectively kind of a new crop of players, and that was kind of hard. You know, you're kind of starting with a clean slate to start every year, and you can't really do that. It's really hard to kind of get a bit of cohesion when you have that. You know, so like you said, like, definitely there's times there where you're trying nearly too hard, you know, like to try get everything right, and nothing seems to be working, you know. And look, it's still year on year, you know, like you're saying you're building, but consistency is a big word too in camogie, and I think we have probably struggled with that. Like, on our day we can mix it with the best, and sometimes then not on our day, like you said, we've experienced some clippings of different teams, you know. So it's just to get that level of consistency and that belief within the team, you know. And look, we had a good league campaign this year, we did a decent year last year, but like, you know, it's time that we kind of kick on again and try to get that consistency and not to be up and down. I feel like they're like what you said, from 2012 maybe to 14, 15, it was peaks and troughs, like, you know, like we were either lighting it up or else we were the carpet was being put under, you know, and that is hard as a player. Like I said, you're nearly trying too hard. You're trying to get everything right, you know, and as a team. So yeah, definitely that was tough.
Like, I suppose, Mal, as a senior player at this time, then, like, I suppose, as a leadership group, were you kind of trying to maybe keep the morale up, or were you doing a lot of work on this yourselves, or what was your kind of approach at the time as one of the leaders, or the more old, one of the senior players, I suppose?
Yeah, one of the older players.
I heard that as well.
Slipped out.
Yeah, like it. I suppose, like Cáit mentioned there, you know, you had mentioned yourself, Solly, about say Wexford coming along. I suppose, you know, we're talking there about Tip in the early 2000s, and then it was Cork for a good few years, and then it was Wexford, and people were kind of just, I suppose, teams were catching up with teams, and say like you look at say Tip when they were winning and there was consistency, and then Cork there was consistency, and then Wexford they kept the consistency, and Cáit was saying there we had a massive turnover of players. Like it's hard to understand. It's hard to, I suppose, put a finger on why players were coming and going. I mean, we lost, say, from when I played minor, we would have lost a good few players. You know that. I mean, very few are probably still playing, and I know the older group now, but you know, even a number of years ago, like people had stopped playing. But we also had a major turnover in management over the years, and it just like in the space of, I think it was 10 seasons there, we had 9 different management teams, which is, you know, hard to get the group going and build up. And then, like you said, it goes back to players then who are trying to build these leadership groups and keep things going. But it's a kind of it's very difficult. I mean, it wasn't until 2015 that we got Brian in, and he was with us for 3 years, and Bill is on his 3rd year with us now, like, you know, and we are showing improvements and more consistency, and you know, like a better understanding of what we have going on among the group and what our aims and goals are, and that, rather than a constant change. So yeah, I suppose, yeah, for a good number of years there was a lot going back to players in terms of leadership and things. But
9 managers in 10 years. Abramovich must have been chairman of the Tip County Board, was he? A tough gig.
But as you were saying as well, like, it's between your consistency and then your culture. It's so hard to build that with so much change. Like it's next to impossible. Yeah. But as you said, like 2 managers since 2015, at least there's a kind of cohesive group kind of together, and it's easier to build for longer. Yeah. But I'll roll on to 15 years or 15 seasons since your debut, Mal, and you kind of got moved out to midfield. That was, and then again, an interesting summer for Tip as well. But how was that experience?
Yeah, I loved it actually. It was class. I thought I'd lost my legs after 15 years, but no, I really enjoyed the time out midfield. I suppose probably with my club over the years, I've always been around the middle of the field, and I think at this stage, I think the only place I haven't played with Tip is number 1. So I've kind of been, I started out in the forwards, have probably spent most of my years on the half back line, and I definitely enjoyed last year pushing forward a bit. I mean, I think I kind of think probably somewhere in the middle of my career, I just developed a really defensive mindset, kind of protecting the back line and all of that. Like, so it was really nice to kind of just let loose and go forward a bit last year. Now I ended up back where I belonged, I suppose, by the end of the year. But yeah, it was definitely nice to get off the field.
I suppose we say when you're kind of had such a defensive mindset, and then you kind of go out into midfield, you've that bit more freedom and nearly do what you want. Like if you see space, you can actually play hurling. Like you don't have to be pulling and dragging in. And
it's gas, because I had gotten so used to just only needing to strike the ball a little bit. Just give a pass. Yeah. You never need to shoot. But I suppose a lot of that then goes back to as well, like the development in the squad. You know, there's savage players who've come up along, and are filling in, and we don't need to have that kind of like defensive mindset or that kind of thing, that we're able to push forward and rely on one another and leave one another go, I suppose, and trust what's behind us. So yeah, that's definitely been a huge development in the squad.
And then you were playing Waterford in the reg, and the game was abandoned. Again, you might want to be talking about it, but Cáit, firstly, how difficult was that to see a teammate, a friend, obviously, taken away from the game like that? Because again, it was a major incident.
Yeah, like it was bizarre, really, because I suppose when we realised that it was serious and that they were kind of minding Nicole on the ground, and that both teams went back into the dressing room. We went back into the dressing room. It was eerie, nearly, because your mind shifts in from the question, when are we going back out, to is Nicole actually okay? So like all of a sudden there's no one to say anything, because it's just complete and utter fear of the unknown, and then when a word filtered through that the match was being postponed and we were let out of the dressing room, and like I just remember, again, luckily enough we had qualified physio and the doctor on site, so she was getting the best care, but like even seeing the fear in their eyes was kind of, you're kind of standing there being like, this is very serious, and Nicole's parents on the line and family on the line and that, and it was a stark kind of a reality of, hold on a second here, players will perhaps come first, and even leaving that evening, you're kind of coming home again, just nearly shell-shocked and not wanting to be asking, is Nicole okay, and still waiting to hear, is she, But it was difficult, and even the weeks after that were difficult for us as a team to try and refocus, and obviously she was out, but like it was in the middle of championship or something like that happened. It was
we were following it on Twitter, and just next thing there was no, obviously Davey would be shocked, it wasn't on telly, Davey, so but there'd be no updates. Then there's rumours starting to come in, geez, you hear what's happening in the Tip game, and just straight away you're sick. Like you'd hate to hear it happen to anyone, but we'd obviously so many players involved on both sides, Waterford and Tip, and you're just like, Jesus, what's going on here? It's a terrible night. Like so there was no information coming through, so I can only imagine what it was like to actually be there and have to experience it. It must have been terrible altogether. I suppose obviously involved in, like the rumours started going around that like crazy stuff, Tip had delayed the game on purpose and all this kind of stuff, and like you must have been aware of it. Like, were you angered by that when obviously you'd seen such a serious incident happen, or were you aware of it at all, really, what was going on or what was being said about
it? I don't think we were overly aware of it. I mean, Anton, it was probably more in the aftermath days later, that you might have heard the odd comment here and there, but like Cáit said, it was a bizarre situation, and it was a worrying situation, and like again, we were on the pitch thinking, or when we were in the dressing room thinking we're ready to go back out, and then when we're told no, like Nicole has to be taken straight to hospital, the game is abandoned, like obviously it's straight away worry, and again, like that, like whatever came out the following week, I mean, if you were there, and like that for Nicole and her family, at the time nobody knew what way it was going to go or what way she was, so like what you kind of just, you have to ignore all whatever kind of silly comments were said in the following days. I mean, I know we met up the next day because people just wanted to know, is Nicole okay and our players okay, and kind of wondering what is going on. So I mean, as far as we were concerned, as soon as we got word that Nicole was okay, I think it was the Sunday evening of that, and straight away it's great to hear from her a few days later, and then we're back together training again, and just forget about any kind of rumours that are going around. Like
and then I suppose Bill stepped away then a few days later, completely unrelated, but obviously the rumour mill blew up then again, I suppose, after that. But like, that's the kind of thing, I suppose, Davey, you've been involved in teams where things haven't gone well for a few days, or maybe just things aren't going your way. like it could easily have derailed your season, but it seemed that you kind of picked up as a group. After that, it was like, I suppose, what part did the players have in that? Did you come together at any stage and say, listen, we need to steady the ship here and drive on? Or you know, what was the kind of the situation, you, Mal, I suppose? What happened in those kind of few weeks after all that happened?
Look, I mean, it was a shock to us when Bill had to step away. And it's a shock, and you are, I mean, with the week that it went down after what happened to Cole, and then an announcement that Bill was stepping away, it was confusion for players and definitely frustration as well. Like, I mean, there's no point, you know, saying there wasn't. Like, people weren't sure what was going on. But yeah, we simply, I mean, I know probably the worst thing was, when is it going to hit the media? Because then all you're going to get is messages and calls and whatever. Whereas, you know, we want to remain among ourselves and focus on the next. I mean, we're 5 days away from our next championship game. But yeah, we regrouped, and the lads, Niamh and Eddie and Dinny, who were over us, just pulled us in together and, you know, reassured us that, you know, we're sticking together. We have another game ahead. And I think, to be honest, one of the things that I definitely thought helped throughout the summer and what spurred us on was that games came so close. We kind of had no time to dwell on it. We suddenly had a game that Saturday, the following Saturday, and we kind of just we went on a good run, to be fair. And definitely, I suppose, when kind of difficult times come like that, or a little bit of uncertainty in that, players pull together, we probably started to chat a bit more, have a little bit more honesty with one another, and yeah, we definitely pushed on for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, it definitely would have helped with games coming. Like, you just don't have time to think. You can just go straight in. You have to focus on the next game. You've no choice, really. But again, the refixture with Waterford was made a couple of weeks later, and that was probably one of the games of the championship. Like, literally just tore into each other, and an unbelievable game. But would you consider that one of your best games, Cáit?
I don't know. I don't think I was too fantastic, to be quite honest.
Very modest.
That is very modest.
It was, you know what? It was a tough match to prepare for. Now, I'm not going to lie. I suppose, like Adrian, you said there, after the match was abandoned and then Bill stepping away, like there was a lot of media attention around the refixture then, you know what I mean? So straight away it was on in Nolan Park, and I think it was it live streamed on Facebook or something, and there was a big build up to it and the whole lot. And
Davey is smirking. That's what big media attention is in Camogie, Davey. That's where I saw it on the live stream.
But yeah, like it was a really hard match to prepare for, because of the way that the previous match had ended, you know, and I suppose everybody was nervous going into it, and there was a lot at stake, you know. Both teams, like you said, went hard at it, and like that, and a lovely day down in Nolan Park, and luckily we came out the right side of the result, but it was nip and tuck the whole way through, you know. And like, on top of that, like I remember going in at half time, and we just lost the goal on the wire. She pulled her hamstring early in the first half, and like, goal is a massive player for us. Physicality wise up front, skill wise, but like also a leader, like, you know, like you turn over that to win a dirty ball or to get a score, and that was a massive blow for us to lose her. I think we lost her maybe 20 minutes into the first half, or early enough anyway. And I just remember being in at half time, and Orla was in, and she was actually just in tears, you know, because she knew probably how much we needed her, but she also really wanted to play. And I just remember kind of looking around, and it's not that you use her as an excuse to give more, but we just kind of said, like, this is what it means to players, you know, and let's make sure that we've no regrets here in the second half. And like, the last, I think, 10 minutes was a massive effort. We were out on our feet. We had subs coming off the bench to finish off the job. It was sweltering heat. Like, it was only, I think it was 2-3 points in it with 5 minutes to go. You know, it really was back to the wall stuff, but we really dug deep that day, and I think it was a very satisfying win. I suppose that's the way you'd put it, because like that, it was really difficult to prepare for it. We lost one of our marquee players early in the first half, and we had to battle right to the end. And as I said, got rubbed the green then towards the end, come out the right side of it, because you couldn't say at any stage what team was going to win. It ebbs and flows the whole way. But I just remember, I even think, we had a quick word after it, like, just, I don't even know, was there a word, probably more than luck, after the final whistle, just like that, job done, satisfaction, nearly relieved that we got over the line, because it was a really hard match to prepare for.
It was a tough game, yeah.
Yeah, it really was,
There's a few things we have to address there. First of all, you are savage in that game. There's no two ways about it. I just remember looking at it, like, because I love Nolan Park, I think it's class, and the sun was shining, pitch in perfect condition. I just thought yourself and Bet that day just looked like two players who were at the very, very top of their game, and it was almost like kind of gladiatorial almost. But it's interesting that you say satisfaction there, because the impression that I got off you watching that game was that it was a real two fingers to everybody else in the country that was kind of talking shit about you and everything that had been going on. It really just looked like you went out and just sold it to them and just gave it to them. That's what it really looked like from the outside looking in. So I think you nailed it there, using the word satisfaction. I think you can only imagine it was quite a nice one to get over the line for you, I suppose,
Then you kind of came on to the semi-final, and again against the Super Kilkenny side, but it just didn't happen for you that day. Mal, do you think it was kind of the hectic kind of summer that kind of just caught up on you, or would that have been in place at all?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I suppose, a hectic summer, but I don't know. I mean, Kilkenny were a savage side the day down in the Gaelic grounds.
Daylight Gaelic grounds. I just said that.
My apologies.
Maybe if you want to mention that again, you're going to have to pay for
it. But yeah, it was a tough game, and I don't know were we honest enough with ourselves in trusting what we had been doing. We kind of fell back into kind of old habits or old ways, instead of just maybe just going out and kind of competing with Kilkenny and believing that we could compete with them. We gave them a good game for probably certainly the first half, but they kind of took over in the second half of that game. I mean, like, it was just point after point. They got a run on us, and again, then we just kind of I don't know, did we kind of just fall back into our old kind of habits, or maybe uncertainties or lack of confidence or something, that we weren't able to, they pulled away from us, like we weren't able to cling on long enough. We made a good run at the end. I know I remember seeing Karen flying off the field and firing in a goal like near the end, like unbelievable stuff, but we
wouldn't
just
be like her to be still motoring at the end of the game.
Oh, stop.
That's the machine.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I mean, look, it was a disappointing result that day. It was disappointing for the whole group. But it had been a challenging summer, like an enjoyable summer that we had done so well. But we had a lot of challenges over the summer, and I suppose it was probably an emotional end to it then to fall out like that. But yeah, it was
serious Kilkenny team though. I just remember leaving the Gaelic grounds that day. It's like Anne Dalton was just like unbelievable. It's just Katie Power, like they're just dead. It's a testament to how strong Galway were, that they gave them the trim and they gave them in the final, because that was a class Kilkenny team. But we're going to talk about All-Stars very quickly, and it's something we haven't really spoken about before, Davey, but it really wrecks my head. I've been awful bee my bonnet about the whole All-Star selection process and stuff like this. I caught you got one in 2018. A lot of people thought you got one last year because we were tweeting from Sports Talk, our own team, and you were on it, and I'd stand by it. I think you should have got one. And you were robbed a little bit. suppose, Mal, yourself, like, you know, anyone you talk to in Camogie, and we're doing these Monday coffee mornings, your name always pops up, most respected opponent from players all around the country, anyone you ever talk to. I think it's absolutely incredible that despite all the nominations, you haven't managed to throw the trophy on the cabinet. And look, you don't need, of all people, you don't need a trophy to validate your career. Everyone knows exactly how good you are. But is it a little bit frustrating for you that you haven't picked one up, or are you one of these players that, you know, the individual awards don't really matter? Tough question. I know, a tough question.
I don't know. Like, it's not something I dwell on or anything. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that when you're there and you're nominated and you know, you don't. I've certainly felt a bit of disappointment on those occasions if you're there and your name isn't, you know, and you don't pick up an All-Star award. I mean, it's certainly a huge achievement for an individual, but at the end of the day, I suppose, I wouldn't dwell on it. Like, it is a team sport at the end of the day. We, like, I mean, last year, look at how many Tip players were up there, and even the year before. Like, it's I suppose testament to where Tip is going, where we've come from. Like, I mean, there would have been a lot of years there where we didn't receive any nominations. And I mean, until Cáit got the All-Star 2 years ago, we hadn't seen one back in Tip in a long time. So,
Yeah, you're an All-Star no rise anyway, Mal. That's the main thing. 100%.
But I thought you were going to go on a bit of a rant there, Sully, like, because again, the selection process is probably a small bit flawed, and you kind of have to question: do these people actually go to the championship games, or is it just kind of the semi-final and final? Because it's basically just, we say, the two teams in an All-Ireland final, and then maybe one or two extra that are scattered around. I'm giving you a chance to go for your rant.
No, I'm just after remembering something there, and honestly, this is not scripted, but I remember about 6 or 7 years ago, I got contacted by an agency that I kind of half knew a guy, and he said, listen, we've been contracted to do the marketing around the AIB Club All-Star 15. I said, no one's been to any of the games. Will you pick the team for us? And I hadn't been to any of the games, so I just went through a few match reports and picked out 15 names that I knew. I think it was one of the years I think Ardrahan were in the final. Was it Oulart and Ardrahan? Did Oulart and Ardrahan play in the final?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. There's players who got club All-Stars. That year might even have been, it could have been subs. Like, I don't know, I just picked them off the team sheet. And a week later, there it was. The team was named. I won't even mention the bank. I've never told this to anyone, actually. It was just when you said it there. It's like, isn't that scandalous, though? And like, if you think that these All-Star selectors are going to games around the country on a Saturday, that's fucking spoofed. There's no way they are. There's absolutely no way they are. There isn't, like, there's no way they are. It's absolute spoof. They'll pick 8 from the winners, 6 from the runners up, and maybe 1 from someone else, or they might pick 2 from somewhere else, and that's it. That's the reality. Like, some of these, like, doesn't matter. I don't know. So we're definitely going to have the Camogie Association on next week. But yeah, it is. It's just, it's scandalous, really. But that's the way it goes.
And we move on.
We move on.
Before we get ourselves in trouble.
You might have to do a bit of editing on this one, Davey, I think. You know. But look, I suppose the 2020 came around, and you mentioned it there, Mal. You were flying in the league. We actually played you inside UL in a challenge match. I remember saying to Bill after, like, you were at a level I hadn't seen Tipperary at before. I thought you were absolutely flying it for that time of the year. So to continue with your run of bad luck maybe for the last 12 months, then obviously, you know, the pandemic thrown into the mix to stop the final. But like, were you hoping that the final would be played? I know, obviously, look, I've been very critical of the Camogie Association in the last hour or so, and you can't fit everything in, and that's fair enough. But were you kind of hoping that it would be played, or had you kind of said, look, it is what it is, and it won't be, you know, with everything that's going on? Or
I mean, I'd say, I mean, at the start of all of this, you know, at the start of the shutdown, obviously it was kind of, we had just reached the league final, and it was people wondering, gosh, are we going to get to play that? There would have been a period of time there, sure, probably April, May, where none of us thought we would hurl at all this year. So, you know, or for the rest of the year, say. So, I don't know, was it, you know, maybe I mean, when it was announced last week that the league was not going to be finished out, it's unfortunate. Like it's disappointing that we don't get to, you know, play that final, and you know, whoever it was going to be. But yeah, I suppose it just came out. We haven't discussed it a huge amount. I mean, there's no fixtures out for championship now yet or anything, so it was just a case of waiting for that to come out and regroup again. But
it must have been encouraging. I suppose Bill had kind of blooded a few new players and stuff caught, and to go up to Galway, and I suppose, look, conditions are poor and stuff like that. It's a great sign of heart and spirit in the team that you were able to dig out a win in that fashion. So you must take great encouragement from that, even as long ago as it was now, and I suppose as far away as the championship is.
Definitely, yeah. Look, any day, any time of the year that you manage to turn over the reigning All-Ireland champions, you have to take massive confidence from it, you know. Conditions were horrendous, but like you said, I suppose you do take a lot of positives from a win like that you might have to eke out, you know. But yeah, look, as Mary said, it was disappointing when we heard that the final wouldn't be played, but we had a steady, I suppose, league campaign, and you have to kind of think that, look, we have to kind of build on that now, and although there has been a long break between that and ultimately when we get back in September, you know, confidence-wise and belief-wise, we have to kind of build on that, even though I know you can't dwell on it, but you have to realise that, you know, we were mixing with the best at that time of the year, so we know what we have to do now, I suppose, from September, you know, and the onus is on us now to make sure that we do kind of kick on and push on, and I suppose have that expectation on ourselves and not just be happy, you know. And like you said there was a lot of new players blooded during the league. There was 2 and 3 players got their debut against Limerick and against Dublin, and the same against Galway, you know. So that's massive, and having that panel that Mary spoke about earlier, you know, is really, really important, that you can have the confidence to play the game that you want to play, or, you know, have a little bit more in the bank tactics-wise, or if you want to play different ways like that. Having a variety of players and options all over the field is vital, and I think we did kind of build a squad kind of during the league, so hopefully we can continue that whenever we get back.
You mentioned the Limerick game there. We had a good 10-minute rant about the Limerick game, as Davey was shocked that you could turn up at a National League game and not have any linesmen and then not know what the score was leaving the field. But we were so poor at presenting on the very first one, it ended up in the bin on the editing floor. So like, that moment has passed, Davey. You can pretend to be shocked there if you want, but we've already done that in a show that will never see the light of day, unfortunately. But yeah. It's obviously, I'm really looking forward to the Camogie Championship now. It'll be an interesting dynamic to see what way I suppose the counties do it. Obviously, we're saying there off air, Kilkenny had their county final the 13th September. I think Galway the same. Cork haven't announced theirs yet, but it looks already like the big guns are trying to get maybe a little bit of an advantage and kind of maybe get a step ahead. But the club championship is competitive in Tipperary, so it'll do you no harm at all playing those good games going into that stage, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and look, I suppose you can always look at something like this as a negative or a positive. Like, and effectively, there's rounds of senior, intermediate, and junior games now that the management can actually go and view more players, you know, and probably maybe have the time to view players, and like that, it's competitive. So you're kind of getting good games, and we should be hopefully match ready come September and the start of the All-Ireland, you know, the All-Ireland Championship. But definitely
Stephen's Day, finals on Stephen's Day in Banagher. No, that's not exclusive, very joking. Could very well be on Stephen's Day. As a rumour, the format is that it's going to be a group of 4, 2 groups of 4 and a group of 3, and the top team in each group. And the top team in each group goes to the semi-finals, and second and third and third in the group of 4 and second in the group of 3 goes into a quarter-final, something like that. That's the rumour floating around. It's a decent enough format, in fairness to them. There's a bit of positivity. Good for
again, it's only rumours at this stage.
Yeah, it's only a rumour though, so we'll see what comes out, see what happens.
I'll bring your attention just to the Ashburn. Again, I think on every podcast we kind of talked about it and the importance of it, and we said the culture of the whole Ashburn. But I think, Molly, your kind of experience was a small bit different. You kind of, it was 14 years after your county debut that you decided to go and win an Ashburn final. What was the college setup like in your experience?
Thanks, Davey.
That has to be a record. Like, that's
like
something to be proud of.
Tactical move there by me. Yeah, my experience at Ashburn sure was great. Like, I don't think anyone, I mean, the memories of Ashburn, everyone has great memories of being with college. I suppose, yeah, it was a bit of a gap between my undergrad and when I went back. I didn't actually play in an Ashburn Cup during my undergrad. At the time we had the Ashburn Shield. A lot of the players don't even, I've never heard of it, I think, these days. But we won 2 Ashburn Shields while I was there in 2008 and 2010, and it would have been very competitive. Like, we were playing, we were always kind of in competition with UCC and WIT, same as now. Like, but at times the way the Shield and the Cup ran at the time, you kind of had like preliminary rounds or like a group stages prior to the weekend, and there was one final game ahead of the weekend. It was normally held probably 2 weeks before Ashburn weekend, and if you won that game, you were in the Ashburn Cup, and if you lost that game, you were in the Ashburn Shield. And I think it was 2008, and both ourselves and UCC had lost our final games and were in the Shield. And I remember it was up in Belfast, and the battle we had with UCC that day, and I don't even think there was probably nobody at the game, the Ashburn Shield final, and it was a savage game to play in. Like, I remember some of the players we played against there. I know Jill Horan was on that UCC team. We had a couple of tip players on the UL team, and it was a massive win for us. And like, it was mad then to think that, say, when I went back a couple of years ago, that Ashburn Shield kind of was given no recognition or anything, kind of. Whereas
she caught it away with it in UL. She's like, nah, it's just win at all costs. After doing 9 league final, after your 9 league final, she's like, no, that's it. There's no shields. There's nothing. Ashburn,
no shield, yeah.
But
I suppose, yeah, it was nice to. There's another joke there, you know, a bit of slagging among friends and that. It was nice to go back. I know, winning 30 years old, winning my first Ashburn Cup. But I know one of my uncles there I think he won a Fitzgibbon when he was 33. So
no way.
I was saying I still have time yet to go back and win one.
Go back again. There's hope for you yet, Davey. There's hope for you yet. That's class. Unreal. Give him another shout out there. Who was he playing for?
Jack. He was playing for UCD. As my dad played with them as well, and it was funny actually. A story we're always told. My uncle, my dad, and another uncle were playing UCD Fitzgibbon final. One, I think it was 79, and my uncle Philip presented the Fitzgibbon Cup to his brother, who captained the Fitzgibbon team at the time. But it's unfortunate there's no picture of it at all anywhere. It's only a story that we tell. But yeah, it's always, I suppose, I know when I was going back to college, that's the thing, they'll slag me at home that's why I went back. Like, so.
Try and even it up.
Yeah.
That's actually some story to have. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's cool, yeah. But yeah, I suppose, I mean, Cáit as well, like Ashburn, you've great memories with it. I know some of the podcasts that were listed there, I know you have Fiona and Sheila on, and I would have played with them below. We had great memories both in the undergrad and there. I mean, 2018, 2019 there were savage, like, and some of the young guns that I was playing alongside were, you know, it was a great experience to be playing with such talented players again. Like, it's a nice experience.
Exactly, and Cáit, like, again, you're well used to winning Ashburns. You've won 5, I think. 1 as a player and 4 as a coach.
Yeah. I suppose I'm lucky to have won as a player too. Loved every minute of it really. Like I suppose that, so I went down to Wales in my undergrad, and I think didn't know too many going down to college, so would have heard obviously my brother John played on the 5th team, so he would have directed me in the way of the GA office, as we call it down there, and kind of threw myself into that straight away, and got to know the Camogie team and got a group of friends out of that, and just loved every minute of it. Played my 4 years, played in 4 finals and won 1 by a point. So great days though. Such a unique competition. Like Mary mentioned it there, like you're playing with and against girls that you're usually rivals with. You know, like you're playing some girls from all over the country, and it's just phenomenal. Really enjoyable, and it's just something, and it's unique as well, I suppose, because you won't. Well, I know Mary has more than the 4 years when you decide to go back, but generally you only have 4 years to play it, you know. So your time is limited, and it's only an academic year that you can play it. So really, from you're probably talking November until February, like, so it's a short window to actually peak as well, you know. So that challenge is kind of cool, and like as I said, loved every minute of it. There's a fantastic ethos and culture down in Newell as well. Like it's one of the few places, I suppose we have it here with the club in County Rossmore. We're very lucky where the women and the men are seen on par. You know, we have equal opportunity with the facilities here. We have locally, be it the field or the gym or whatever it is, like if the Camogie team need it, the Camogie team get it. There's not any issue with it. And we're the one club, you know, which is fantastic. And it's the same in Newell. You know, the women and the men are treated the exact same. And I think that is massive in terms of player retention, but also getting the best out of the players. Like you feel, I don't know, like you feel worthy or something. You know what I mean? You never feel like any less important than the men. You know, and that's massive. You know, and that was definitely something that I think is really incredibly. That level of the unity within the whole club, and as you said then, so I went back then helping out on the management team side of things, and loved that experience too. I'm a secondary school teacher, so I suppose I teach PE and Irish, so the whole kind of coaching side would interest me, and I coach a little bit here in the club as well with minor teams and that kind of thing. But look, down there again was just next level stuff, you know, really, really professional setup, and it was just a dream to work with the management team, but also the players, because you're dealing with the best, you know. So thoroughly enjoyed my 3 years, had a great time, learned loads, and just couldn't fall from it.
And in fairness, that's great credit due to you, Will, to say that you're on par with we said the Fitzgibbon team, because again, seen as the media side of stuff isn't the same. The easy option to do Fitzgibbon, give them everything, and Ashburn are second best. But it's great to hear that, again, great credit due to you, Will, to say that you're on par. But between the win you had as a player and a manager, or as a coach, can you compare them, or are there different feelings there? They are very different. I suppose we had massive battles as a player. In 2013, we won it up in Queens and Belfast, and we had massive battles. We played WIC in every final up along, you know. So it was so nice to one up on them. And I suppose the year before we had lost after extra time, actually down in Newell in North Campus at home, and that loss really kind of hangs over me a little bit. That was a hard one to take. So that was sweet from that point of view, and to finally get over the line. We hadn't done it in 2 years, and to finally get over the line, and like what WIT were a fantastic team. Like they were just
phenomenal, and they really set the bar, you know, and everybody was chasing them. And that was sweet to get over that. But like it's gas, you're nearly more nervous kind of being on the management side of things, because you feel a little bit helpless in a way. You know, when you're playing, you kind of feel a little bit more in control. But when you get to the weekend and you're kind of involved with the team, it's you know, the work is kind of done. You're doing, obviously you still have logistics and planning it and that kind of thing, but ultimately when they cross the white line, it's the theirs, you know. And like Adrian, I think you'd agree with saying, like, the last couple of years when we've got to the weekend, it's less of a job really the management team have to do, because you're dealing with such calibre of players that, like, the work is done and they get to the weekend and they just know what to do, you know. And our president probably, well, I don't want to say wasn't needed, but like,
no, it wasn't. They didn't want it in spite of us.
But I definitely do like the weekend as a player and the weekend as being part of a management team, like way more anxious and nervous being part of a management team, which is, I don't know whether that, I don't know, but I must say I threw myself into the management side of things, like, and like I enjoyed them wins every bit as much as I did the one that I was playing, you know, and it meant as much to me, I suppose, being my alma mater as well. You know, you'd be kind of UL to the core, and like UL could win a fresher competition or win and I'd feel part of it, you know what I mean? And that's something that's kind of unique as well. Like everybody has that with their college or whatever, but definitely having that link and being involved, like it was really, really enjoyable, you know.
And you said like you're doing a lot of coaching, but would a manager, would that be in your sights, or is it too early to say?
Probably too early to say. I enjoy the coaching side of things, but when I'm playing myself, probably the manager side might be just a little step too far. Like Adrian, like, does the bulk of the work, you know, down in UL, and is in contact with the J office and organising challenge matches, and is on the phone and, you know, making sure that the rest is going to be there, and making sure that the field is booked, and that side of things. I don't know, am I quite there yet, but I must say I've learned an awful lot from Adrian and every member of the management team going back the last 3 years. Like, you know, you take something from everybody, and I think that has kind of been the key as well. We've had people from different backgrounds but with different experiences and different perspectives on the game, and that's vital, like, to get that mix of people. You don't want everybody with the same idea all the time, or else, you know, you're going to be kind of tunnel vision. And I think I've learned an awful lot from everybody that I've been lucky enough to encounter. But to answer your question, I do see myself hopefully one day going down the manager route, be it with the club here or wherever that may be. But I think when I'm kind of playing, I just enjoy the thrill of coaching and being involved as a management team more so than being the actual manager.
I think I've often said this to Ronan. I think it'd be a massive step forward, and it'd be great if we could do it in UL first, given, I suppose, what we talked about their legal status. But I don't think we're a million miles away from having an all-female management team of the Ashbourne team in UL. I think the calibre of player that's going through the place, and the kind of the quality of leaders that are coming out in fourth year and after masters and stuff like that. I think between yourself, Cáit, you were on the management team until we realised you were still eligible somehow to play. For about 2 months, we couldn't believe it. You were still eligible. We did an LIT and it, we slipped you in the back door with a student card. But like with Niamh Ryan and Sheila and Sarah Friday and Laura McMahon and Marina Friday, Emer Kelly, like these are all like leaders in their own counties and captains and everything. I think it'd be great in 3 or 4 years' time if we could have an all-female management in UL of ex-players. And I don't think that's pie in the sky stuff. I think that's something that could really, really happen very soon, if everyone was interested in doing it. So I think that day will come, and hopefully not too far away. But we nearly have to wrap it up.
You're talking yourself out of a job there.
I'm trying to talk myself out of it.
You're talking me into retirement.
Yeah. We have a few questions. Actually, we have a load of questions for you, funnily enough. A couple of them are about what your opinion was on the minor championship being cancelled, so we can't go back over that. We finished on a relatively positive note, so we'll let that sit where it was. We have one for you, Mal, from a Megan Ryan, who wants to know who your favourite midfield partner ever was. I think that's a loaded question. You don't have to answer that.
A loaded question. She can answer that herself. Does she have an answer written down with her question?
Well, I think it was implied. One for you, Cáit, from the lads at Cool Slitters. They want to know, they obviously know that you like throwing a few shapes. They want to know what your favourite boots are.
What my favourite boots are? I'll always default back to Cup Mondials. Yeah.
Solid.
I have ventured New Balance and that, but when push comes to shove, I think the Cup Mondials always get the nod.
Solid choice, in fairness. Not too flashy, but kind of, yeah. Expensive, but kind of classy. Like, that's it. Yeah. That's it. From Emer Rogers, Mal, how did it feel to step out onto Croke Park in a Tipperary jersey for the first time?
Jeez, a long time ago, but yeah, it was cool. Like, it was very nice, great occasion. We came out on the wrong side, unfortunately, but you know, as we spoke about earlier, it was kind of the occasion with those players, you know, who had won so much and been through so much. It was cool, and hopefully we'll be back there again.
Definitely, or wherever the finals play this year. Who knows? If you just your luck now that you'd win it and it'd be on blowing Boris Kane or somewhere. I don't think you'd mind too much. We asked JJ Doyle off air there in one of the first ones, you know, like, would it take away from it if it was a shortened championship and they won it in December? And he's like, nah, would it fuck? I wouldn't give a shit. I think he'd probably be the same. We better wrap it up because we're on way over time. So thanks very much for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. And best of luck when you're heading back to action there in the next couple of weeks. So thanks very much.
Thanks a lot.
Guys.
Thank you.
Well, so, you know, that was another interesting show. Great insight to Tip and even the Ashburn with Mal. Next week again, who do we have?
I know it was really good, in fairness. Two class acts, well able to speak. You know, you can see why maybe management might suit them down the line as well. And didn't fudge the hard questions. Look, they've been through tough times, but it looks like, I suppose, with leaders like them, they are starting to haul themselves up again. And they'll be an interesting prospect for the championship next week. We have two of the highest pedigree players, Mullya and Galway's Aoife Donoghue and Sarah Dervin, both All-Stars, both All-Ireland winners last year. Sarah Dervin, Galway captain. So that'll be good. We saw on the Monday coffee break that they're all about Mullya, so we'll see if we can get them talking about Galway as well as Mullya, but I'm sure there'll be a good flavour of that as well. So if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you subscribe as well. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.